I might have chosen a bit of weather, a moment of a bit of weather, but we'll see. So, something I was looking at today on Revolver, I have it open another tab, and it was talking about the various involvements of the CIA and the FBI in a lot of the lawfare that's or evidence thereof in the lawfare around Donald Trump. And one of the key things is cases that had to do with January 6th and him inciting and this, that, and the other. And that more and more we're finding this isn't just the FBI, but that it had to involve the Central Intelligence Agency as well, and other intelligence community, other bureaus that are of the intelligence community, the IC. So I like how it's the ick. I kind of like that. I like the humor of that. But more and more, I've actually been sort of astonished now at like the effectiveness that this has had. So the key thing that I went backwards in my mind, it was Julian Assange, and that's what all this of everybody, of all the lawfare of everything, it's Assange. It's that he's this pride. They have to get him in the chair. He has to be that, they gotta get him. They've got to have this, they got to hang him, or they have to have him killed in prison, or whatever it is that's their thing, because he ruined it all. When he exposed, there was the exposure of Hillary Clinton's server, but then when he exposed that, a bunch of emails and other information that he was able to expose about the Obama administration, and it really sunk Hillary, and really showed like how that she was, that the idea of double dealer barely even touches, just kind of how bad of a person, that as some kind of representative, was it State Department, was it, and so Secretary of State, and so this person who is just absolutely loathed by the world. Unless, and if you didn't, the only people who liked her are the people who she got somebody knocked off, or she was a part of the operation, and so by the end of it all, what's fascinating is all of a sudden Democrats, progressives, and the left, they are all sorts of concerned about the Palestinians, but fuck all about Syria. Where are they? Where are the Syrians now? Where is their talk of, Bashar Assad? Where's Bashar Assad's like massive killing fields? That he, all these people, this organic uprising that supposedly happened. Where's all these people that he's like locked up or annihilated? They haven't talked about that. I haven't heard this on any shows. Haven't heard about it on NPR. Nobody talks about Syria. It's like Syria never happened. And it's great when you hear people, like, especially people like the Young Turks, where they'll talk about, and the American Empire did all these things. It's like, but they don't mention Syria. They want to act like that wasn't us staging all of that. So the outcome that has happened, and this is also the thing I think it's real interesting, they don't want to say shit about Syria, is that Syrian territory, Mediterranean Sea territory, has ended up in Israeli hands. And it's a very lucrative oil field now for Israel. Oil or natural gas. And what's funny is that Biden has been the key problem. The Biden administration has been the key problem in Israel getting into the energy industry. And so that's also a part of the whole OPEC plus issue and why a lot of this is happening. That it's like, okay, well, we you help us, we'll help you. Israel went along with the Ukrainian thing. Remember, Israel went hard on Ukraine and the Azov battalion. But by the time Biden's in office, Zelensky is getting a medal from the Simon Wiesenthal Center. He's getting a medal from them. Simon Wiesenthal Center were the people who primarily they wrote the key articles that alerted people to the nature of the Azov Battalion. And by this, it's just fascinating to see whose interests various things serve. But at some point, obviously, Biden fucked up, because now Israel's not doing, now Israel's not doing what he wants. And like most other countries that we have dealings with, now they just diss Biden. They're just like, we're going to do what we want. Ha ha ha. Stop us. Oh, you can't, because you're a dotard. And your position is weak. Your party's position is weak. Your cabinet is a fucking clown show. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's amazing now, just to see the level of like where I look at, like, this is what they kind of could have pulled off if these were extremely effective people, and they didn't. And then there's things where I'm like, this didn't even have to get this bad, but no, Democrats, it somehow fucked it up, and it even got that bad to the point where now it's not even, there's almost nothing that the Democrats are into now that it's serving the purpose of making them look like they are the smart people. The environmental movement now is positing things that like almost any expert in any field that the legislation would touch is saying this would cause the deaths of millions of people. So this is now being exposed over and over again as like kind of a death cult. You know, oh, Ukraine, what should we do about this? Oh, no, if we just keep ramping up hostilities more and more directly with Russia, they'll finally get the message to not have complete and total control of that territory. And now, what was it? There's one of these things, I've got to actually post it as a YouTube post. It was fantastic. And it was somebody, the way it reads kind of like this is an artillery guy. And one of the things that comes up is he just goes through this long list of material that we've been sending to Ukraine and how effective it is at the moment. And oh God, it's just blistering. There's a lot of it that just they can't even use. They just don't have parts. They're screwed. They're screwed, and that's the thing, is that, and they're screwed even having a lot of times some type of platform, but they don't have the right ammunition for it, or it's completely jammed. Like that's the big one. There's a bunch of stuff that it's jammed, or then there's the stuff that actually that's kind of fascinating, that this guy, kind of these honest moments where he's like, this never worked for us, and now we sent it to Ukraine, and these people are going to get killed. You know, like, we couldn't make this thing work. And so it's just, I'm like, damn, it was blistering. I'll have to post it. So now oh, interesting. Oh, okay. And so the thing that I started to then consider was like, okay, so let's start walking through, like, okay, so they turned on Julian Assange because he fucked up the campaign for Hillary Clinton. So they wanted this person that now they actually, the activist end of the party is criticizing as just one of the warmongers. Just one of these, what was it, establishment war hawk, corporate Democrats, like nobody, now suddenly they don't like Hillary. If they ever did, is also kind of the other part of it. Like, did they ever really like her that much? Or was it just that they were like, okay, well, we've been told that it's Hillary, so I guess it's her turn, and we have to support. So that's the part. One of the things I'm like, okay, this is now starting to really hit me. I think this thing that we see where somebody within the party itself just chooses who's going to be the candidate, that it's starting to hit me that I'm like, the fact that they're going along with that now kind of so readily is really, really, it's okay. If you already have this weird group of very relatively middle class to wealthy students at elite universities that they've got to bug up their ass about Hamas and Marxist-Leninist Islamo-fascist kind of movement, and they think that's the bee's knees, and that because their own party can't put up a candidate who could compete against Orange Man. So it starts to become this thing of, what the fuck? Dog. I swear, this is so funny. On some of my walks, oh, there is a person. Okay. I was like, where's that dog coming from? Like, okay, yeah. I didn't see there was a tree there, so I didn't see the owner. I was just like, this dog is just chilling, just walking along, happy as a clam, happy as a dog. And so, focus. This kind of like death cult thing, I really have sort of tried to push that off to the side. I'm like, I know a lot of the people on the right use this, a lot of the religious people use that term, and but I was like, I don't like that term that much. It just is a little too right-wingy, like religious cringe end of the terminology. It was not my bag. Oh my gosh, this girl running is just killing me. It's yeah. And so, but that's why that is one of the reasons I live here. Beautiful, petite, white women. Pleasant, beautiful, petite, white women. So, but I'm really having a hard time thinking like that this can't be something other, because these aren't people. Often I'm finding Democrats that I end up hearing like them talk about the world around them. I'm realizing like they really aren't hip to sort of the way actual, well, what it is that they don't have any interest in men's spaces. There we go. I got to slow down for a second. The lack of interest in men's spaces online. This idea that not so much to even forbid the talking of men, such as when men had to form lodges and secret societies to discuss, are we truly bound to the king? You know, like how are we supposed to be real individuals? And, you know, if we are subjects of a king or an emperor or something like that. And all the ways that people were now, they were starting to think of, you know, because there was a blast in intelligence. It was an explosion of intelligence. And some of these ideas, none of us could go backwards. We wouldn't want to. I mean, we live in the Republic, you know. So, now, with a lot of the ideas of especially the liberal era and liberalism being questioned in men's spaces, and not with the idea of, oh, we should go to some, really, in the United States, the traditionalist view is a view that it's traditionalist, but in this way that it's like, oh yeah, well, no, we need to go back to the idea that you would have most of, whoa. Huh? Okay, yeah, he's all right. And so it was that you would have this focus around the nuclear family, such that you end up with people always having pretty much that circle, and that's the central core, and then it goes out, there's more circles out from there of what kind of relationships you would have, but they would at some way, shape, or form be familiar to your family members, or your family members would like know you hang out with that person. They would know your friends. They would not this idea that we really get from the sort of the height of the modern period, that you have like your street family, and that your mother doesn't really know, like your mom doesn't know that you're involved in all this gangster stuff. Where did you get that tattoo? Have you been smoking? Because you are a jet from your first cigarette. So anyway, now when you have these men's spaces, these are profoundly fascinating places. The discussions that go on, and the men's spaces on the internet have shaken up the world so much that liberalism is, people are openly saying democracy, liberalism, what was it? That's mostly democracy and liberalism are now threatened by Orange Man. You see, it all becomes Orange Man. Orange Man is this powerful entity for them. I think in many ways, I think he really does sort of represent all of these things that they don't understand who these people are, where these ideas come from. Like Nicholas J. Fuentes is like Orange Man. It's that without Orange Man, Nicholas J. Fuentes wouldn't exist. Is kind of one of the concepts, that I'm kind of thinking, and or like, the environmental movement would be more popular if it wasn't for Orange Man. Not getting, well, no, there's the internet. There's lots of people who discuss these arguments and discuss the science of it, and you're not selling it to everybody. That's what the bag is. That's what the score is, chief. But because that would be a space mostly male in occupation, there's all these people who just don't pay attention to it. There's just a bunch of guys talking about the things guys talk about, which is stupid, and tits and boobs, and like sports stuff, and because it has to be dismissed as that's all that men discuss. Like what I find fascinating is all men discuss, are these low-minded ideas, right? But yet the monks invented the astrolabe in China long before it was a common tool in the West. There's a seismometer, if I remember, that was developed by, I believe, a Confucian inventor. Like all kinds of fascinating things that come out of these patriarchal societies, that it's like that, all these different things about male dominated cultures, that it's like, okay, there were plenty of women who existed in these cultures, and yes, about their inventions because of artwork, that a lot of the various kind of crafts that still survive, that was likely what they were the most likely to be doing. That, and now probably there's a level of it that it's like, no, from that point on it's males. But when you find things in burials, a lot of times there's a very, very high likelihood a good portion of these were probably crafted by women. But nobody wants to think that that's interesting. And that that isn't a story in itself. And yeah, and that's sad. It's sad that there's this sort of disinterest that happens now with the left. And what is interesting, like the black bankers of the late 1800s, this is totally a story that you would think like a bunch of the BLMers and stuff like that would be fascinated by. You would think that the story of soul music would be this big deal to BLMers and such, and all these like pro-blacks, but they're not really interested in this period of time that severely changed from the jazz era and jazz orchestras to dance music, and the way that dance music, even into electronica, was shaped by that era. And to have like this idea of, yeah, this is a population of, at the time, would have been less than 100 million people. This is far less, probably about 20 million, 30 million people. And the music of that 30 million people influenced dance music for the next 2 generations. That's a fascinating story. But there's this, it's not to the left. And then the fact that it then gets the whole idea of soul to then the various types of electronica, and with house being the big bridge, that house, and that a big part of it was that house was very black when it first started. And all of this fascinating stuff about this, like, and who got into it? Everyone. That's appreciation. That's not cultural appropriation. That's appreciating something. People live for that music. People live for soul. They live for reggae. They live for ska. They live for house. They live for dub. And it really is this. It's the left in this, because they have to be like, well, what you're doing is appropriating and blah, 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 and identity and da-da-da, and, and bullshit and jive. And so it's like, you end up kind of thinking after a while is, well, I mean, like, no, but this is like you're talking to like this super dub head about how like he's appropriating dub, but he's like the dub head. They call him dub head because he's so into dub, and it's, and so then you got to sit back and be like, no, people like this just want to ruin culture itself by being like, you're appropriating that. That's what you're doing with your privilege. You're just appropriating it, and and it's like, fuck you. Let a player play, like it and given enough digging, there's something there appropriating somewhere. It's you're not European. Why are you at a university? That's a European thing. You're a Marxist. That's pretty German? Which I love that. Just wanted to, the fact that now all these people of color who are Marxists fundamentally now have like this belief system founded off of a smelly, boil-ridden, unkempt German guy who is actually of Jewish descent and hated Jews, or fundamentally is like one of those people who had a fascinating philosophy on Jews. Because philosophy, I don't know if it's Jew hate, it's because the Marxists, who knows what the Marxists, you never know what they're thinking now, you never know what they're going to come up with next. They're always coming up with new terms. I always like making sure you don't know they're Marxists, so they come up with like social justice warrior and such terminology, So the part that I like now is that these people are hanging their hat and their whole identity on Marxism. And this guy was like a slaver and a rapist fundamentally by most of these people's standards. So that just every day kind of tickles me. Is just that's what they ascribe to, and they want to criticize other people's the core of other people's or origin of other people's thinking. And it's like, oh yeah, you guys, right? Karl Marx, right? Great guy, right? Yeah. How about Che Guevara? Great guy. Castro. We're lucky we have Cuban jazz anymore. It's like with those guys, behind the wheel. So and just knowing that, like that, the reason why the whole Buena Vista Social Club thing was a big deal was because, well, they weren't allowed to play that music in communist Cuba because it wasn't commie enough. It wasn't good party, for the Communist Party and the glory of communism, and so it's I'm kind of enjoying now that they are really finding that they've told everybody. They've let everybody know, like, no, this is actually what we're about. And now people are like, oh my God, you're monsters. And I really like that like now they have to kind of wear their monster skin on the outside, for everyone to see. And that more and more they're just not even disguising it. They're just like, we're Marxists and we're anger, and we will, we feel entitled to use violence against people. And so one of the key things about this is that the Democrats, the recent rant from Carville kind of made me think about this too. Was because that recent rant by Carville really made me consider, because I saw that Cenk apparently was like, oh my God, Carville's ranting, and there's this part of it like, but Carville wins elections. Let that one just sink in. Losing. Just, oh my God, like, I mean, it's just, oh my gosh. I mean, Cenk Uygur has like the worst political calls in the business. Like, he's actually one of these people that it's kind of almost comical. Like, you kind of hope that he has like a political call, because it's, then Dame Pesos or something, makes a video of watching Cenk lose again, in some major way, and the way he slaps the table and he's, God damn it, this is bullshit, and it's fucking great. It's fucking comedy. We love that. The right wing salutes Cenk Uygur for making watching you lose so much fun. And so the thing is, though, Carville was really, and others, these older people are getting like, but it's like, well, Carville, you should have brought up how this was like the 70s. And you should have brought that up way back during the Obama administration. When people started wearing masks during fucking riots, you should have been like, no, this is like the 70s. If this continues, it will sink our party. But you guys didn't want to listen to people like me who were offering criticism like, okay, I'm doubting all of you really are into this. I'm thinking that a lot of you just don't know how to kind of, you just don't get it. You don't get these people. You don't know why they're doing stuff like this. You're going to just have to start understanding, no, you need the law to come in and deal with this big time, or it's going to be a problem. And now your cities are dead. Now San Francisco now has a fundamental problem being able to keep grocery stores in the city. And there's still people there. There's still got to be 400,000 to 500,000 people there, but there's almost no grocery stores. I mean, like, holy shit! Like, I mean, this is really, the right gets to sit back and just allow you guys to kind of just die. But I mean, it's really weird. It's like, but there's this part of it that people talked about this in like the world of the alt-right writers had talked about what will happen when things collapse. And I mean, I read some stuff on this, but I didn't really get quite how it was going to be. Well, and with that, best of luck.